How often do you catch yourself daydreaming about the woman that you really want to become? I mean, really want to become. Only to look at your day-to-day actions and your day-to-day activities and your day-to-day whatever it is that you're doing and realize that it's not in alignment with who you truly want to be. Maybe you're thinking about being more present, maybe more peaceful, more confident, more at ease, just being you in your skin. But then you catch yourself in those same patterns that keep you small and keep you stuck and keep you from stepping into alignment with who she is. And you're second guessing everything. That is the conversation we're going to have tonight. Because most of us don't even realize that that's what's keeping us stuck. And it's not because there's this lack of vision or this lack of having goals or this lack of having dreams, but it's that we're waiting too long to decide to actually go after it and to actually live it. And I think, like, I have my 35th birthday coming up next week. And, so often I hear people get to 30s and beyond and start really dreading the next year. But I think, and this is kind of a sidetrack, but I know it's been heavy on all of our hearts, anybody that's watching the news, if anything, like the events that have went on in Texas, the flooding now in New Mexico, it really has put it into perspective for me. I think that instead of dreading the fact that I'm going to be turning 35 next week, I am so thankful that I am being blessed with another year because there are so many of those sweet babies that didn't get to live past their 8th or 9th or 10th birthday. And I've been blessed with 35 years. So instead of dreading that birthday that's coming up, I am thankful for it. I am thankful that God has granted me 35 years of living this life. Has it all been easy? Absolutely not. But it's brought me to who I am today. And that is why I am so passionate about making sure I'm stepping into alignment with who I'm being called to be, but also to help bring other women to grab you by the hand and bring you with me. If this is adding value, I encourage you to hit the like and subscribe button for more. And I know, like, in saying what I'm saying, it might sound like I'm calling you out, but I'm not. Like, I promise I'm not. I'm saying all of this with love because this is me too. I spent so many years telling myself that I wanted to be a coach, but I let my own fears get in the way of that. I wanted to help women break free of the exact patterns that I am stuck in or was stuck in myself before I decided to go all in and go for it. To live with more self-trust, to live with more peace, to live with more purpose. But instead of deciding to go for that, I kept distracting myself. I tried so many different side hustles because I thought that that would bring me closer to my goals. But when in reality, all it did was kept me from them because it wasn't truly in alignment with who I wanted to be. I poured my heart and my energy into things that felt safe because they weren't really my dream. But instead of feeling like I was getting closer to my goals, that felt really heavy. Like I was dragging around this life that didn't actually belong to me because deep down, I knew that I was meant for something different. I knew I was meant for more. But instead of going for it, I just kept waiting for the spirit to leave me before I would chase it, waiting to feel more confident before I actually acted, waiting for a sign that I wasn't going to mess up. And just a little inside secret, because you probably already know this, none of that came. None of that came because it doesn't. I still make mistakes. I still get scared. Before I come on these lives, I kind of have to take a step back and take a deep breath and ground myself and remember that I'm showing up for you, ladies. I'm not doing this for me, I'm doing this for you. But that fear is still there. Like, who is going to judge me for the content that I post? Who's going to judge me for the things that I say when I get in these lives? But again, I made the decision, I'm going all in, so I'm not letting it stop me because I finally reached this point of it was just more exhausting to keep spinning my wheels, keep trying these other side hustles than it was just to take the risk and just to go all in. I remember when I decided to invest in a coach for myself. I invested in a business coach to help me get my business up and off the ground, my coaching business going. And it came with so many incredible coaches inside of there, which I'm thankful for. But it was such a huge decision for me, not just financially, because making financial investments is scary, but also emotionally. It meant I had to either go after my fear, go after my vision, or let that fear hold me back. Because investing in yourself means that your excuses don't get to run the show anymore. And making that decision forced me to grow and stretch in ways that I didn't even know was possible. It was scary. And I definitely questioned myself the entire time I was inside that mastermind that I was in. But with that came this peace in knowing that I was honoring the future version of me, the version of me that I knew I wanted to be. The one who, when I would sit down and do my prayer, my devotional, my prayer journal, that I was constantly praying about. The one that I have on my vision board, and I keep my vision board on my desktop and I look at it every day, and it was the one that was on there and has been on there for a while. The one who shows up in my dreams and in my goals and in my visions. If you want to go deeper, I invite you to grab your free 3-day worth reset. You will find it linked in the comments or in the description below. I'm actually going after it instead of just talking about it. But what surprised me the most is not just how it's changed my business and how I'm running my coaching, but also how I've carried myself. I don't know how many times since I've started actually working on myself and working on my worth and working on the things that I constantly share with you ladies. Like now, how many times I've heard my husband say, it's amazing to see how far you've come in our marriage one, but just in these last few years, like you just show up more confident and more at ease and more at peace with yourself. And that is what I want for everybody else too. When I started believing in myself and working on myself, I started trusting my own voice in my marriage. I stopped shrinking myself in conversations. But also with that came this piece of knowing, because I am, like when I get in a group, I'm a quiet person. And before that would really bother me. But now I'm okay with that. I'm content with that. It's okay because that's who I am. To where before I thought that that wasn't an okay thing, but I'm confident in that. And I know it's okay. I showed up as a more present mom for my boys because I was confident in the decisions I was making. Are my decisions always right? Absolutely not. I still question sometimes what I'm doing, but I still have this ease and this peace in knowing that it's gonna be okay. I'm not perfect at all, by any means, not even close. But I'm definitely more present and more at peace with who I am because I'm doing the work. When you start taking one area of your life seriously, when you start putting the work into yourself, it is incredible how much change you see in everything else. So with that being said, let me ask you, ladies, what about you? Who is that woman that you keep imagining yourself becoming? What does she look like on a normal day? Not just the highlight reel. Remember, we're not here for highlight reels. We don't do that inside of here. How does she handle stress? How does she show up for her family, her faith, her goals? I encourage you to think about that. If you're catching this on the replay, press pause and think about that for a moment. Jot it down if you need to, but take some time and reflect. But if you're being honest with yourself, does your life that you're living right now actually match up with that version of yourself that you envision? Or are you being like I was a few years ago and you're waiting until everything lines up perfectly for that moment to become her? Maybe still putting off decisions that might move you forward because deep down, it feels safer to just wait. Sometimes when we make those decisions, we lose control of the situation. And if you're anything like me, and I know most of us, it's just hardwired into us, we like to be in control. So anytime we feel like we're losing that control, we take a step back and we decide to keep waiting. But one of the hardest truths that I've learned while going through this is that your life isn't stuck. You're just waiting too long to make decisions. And I say that again, ladies, with love. Everything I say inside of here is with love, but you're letting those same fears just circle over and over again, telling yourself that it's wisdom to be cautious. You are replaying all the ways it could go wrong and calling it being responsible. But all that does is delay the life that you keep saying you want. And again, I say this because that's me. That's who I was before I decided to go all in. But meanwhile, just like my future self was waiting, your future self is waiting too, watching, wondering when you're finally going to do the hard, beautiful thing of choosing her over your fears, over your comfort. Because the moment, ladies, that you decide that, something starts to shift. Now, I'm not saying everything becomes easy because it doesn't. Not all the fears are just going to magically disappear. They won't. But you cut that mental loop that you have stuck on replay. You stop debating with yourself. You stop making room for all of the excuses and you finally start moving forward. So that's why I myself keep coming back to the same question, especially on the days that I'm tired or overwhelmed or really doubting what I'm doing or afraid to press go live on these lives. What's one small step that moves me just 1% closer 1% to the woman I'm becoming. One small step, not 100% in one day, not all in, burn it all down transformation, just 1% more aligned with who I say I want to be. Because that's what actually is going to build the confidence. Not the big dramatic gestures, but the small, most of the time unseen, quiet decisions that say, I trust myself to keep showing up. And every time you do that, you are making a deposit into your own self-trust. You're building the evidence that you're going to be the kind of woman who follows through, not just for a week, but for a lifetime. So what about you? What is one small step you could take this week? Just that 1% to be closer to her. Because ladies, what is 1% every day? If you do 1% better or 1% closer to your goal every day, where are you going to be at in 100 days? 1%. Not because it's a perfect plan, not for anyone else's approval, but because the woman you're becoming deserves a different story than one where you keep waiting. So drop it in the comments below. I would love to hear you. I invite you to let me know what your 1% is going to be, because sometimes actually putting it into words or saying out loud or sharing with others is the first step to a real commitment. What is your 1% that you're committing to? And maybe you're stuck thinking like, I want this so badly, but I have no idea where to start. I've created a few different ways that you can work with me. First, there's the 5-day Worthy Woman Reset. It is a self-paced course that I built for women who are ready to connect with their own worth and to build this foundation, because anytime you're in my lives, you hear me say that your worth is your foundation for everything. So I want you to build this foundation that feels strong. That way you can build on top of it. 5 days of just simple, powerful lessons that you can do at your own pace, because it's a self-paced course designed to help you remember who you are without feeling all the pressure. If you're interested in that, just drop reset for me below and I'll make sure to get you your copy, okay? Or if you want something a little bit more personal and a little more customized to you and to your journey, like a mirror and a roadmap that looks directly at your life, your patterns, your next moves, that is why I created the Fearless Foundations Roadmap. You fill out this short reflection. I review it personally. I look through your answers myself, and then I send back a recorded breakdown of what is keeping you stuck and how to start building momentum. There is no call required. We don't have to jump in on a call together. No pressure, just this clear, honest look at where you're at now and what your next possible steps are. So if that sounds like something you want, ladies, just drop a roadmap below. But remember, you do not have to have it all figured out right now. You just have to decide that you are done waiting. And I am here to cheer you on every step of the way. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight, but I am empowering you always.